Hi, I'm Madeline Murray.
And I'm Travis Jones. Welcome to Getting Started at Covenant Kids.
We've spent a lot of time today talking about what is a home study and how to prepare your home for a home study. And now we're going to talk a little bit about what happens at a home study. What can you expect from your writer and some other things like that. Travis, what can we tell our families to prepare them for what is actually going to happen during their home study?
Yeah, people get really nervous because we're going to come into their house and they know that we're going to ask a bunch of questions. And so it's a good question to try to figure out sort of what's going on. So basically what's going to happen is we're going to assign a professional who has a lot of experience with assessing families to contact and set up an appointment. They'll come out and basically spend the day with the family. It's a chance to kind of a day in the life type of a thing with a bunch of really nosy questions while they're there.
Things your mom tells you not to ask people.
Yes, absolutely. And so we're probably going to be at the house for like 6 to 8 hours. We're going to be there really for the full day to join the family and just kind of see how things work. We're going to have to talk to everybody that lives at that house, like full-time, part-time, and we'll interview everybody individually. We'll interview married couples together, and then we have to see the whole family unit together. So
what happens if I have a college student or I have a child that I have partial custody of?
Those people need to be there. So they're required to participate in the interviews. So anybody that is a part-time household member, which we should already establish that in the process while you're doing paperwork with us, but like if a college student, your address is still their permanent residence, they're going to be home on summers and spring break and Christmas and stuff. They need to be there for the home study. If you've got a kid that comes, every other weekend of the month or something like that, they'll need to be present for the home study. If you have an adult parent that lives with you or a roommate, they'll have to be there. And so we'll spend time with each of those people individually, and then we've got to see everybody together and how you interact. Now, if you've got a kid away at college and it's going to be more than like 3 or 4 hours, or you got to get a plane ticket in order to get them home, we can try to come up with a way to interview them remotely. But in general, we need everybody to be present for those interviews so that we can meet all of the state's requirements. People get really nervous when we talk about interviewing their kids, and we'll interview kids age 3 and above individually, pretty much everybody. And we're going to ask them questions, and people get worried that we're going to ask them to say, what's the meanest thing that your dad's ever done, or what's the worst thing your mom's ever said, or something. And that's not our goal. Yeah. What we want to do is we want to get to know the person. We want to get to know their personality. We want to get to know their thoughts and feelings about having children join the family through foster care or adoption. Really just kind of assess what's it like in their household. On that note, a lot of times when families are in the process of really exploring foster care and adoption, they may not clue their children into that process. The parents want to make that decision, and we totally agree that the adults need to be the ones that make these decisions. But we definitely want you to talk to your kids before we come out to the house. They need to be prepared that somebody's going to talk to them, somebody's going to ask a little bit about their family, get to know them and what they think about this. And, we don't want to be the first one to introduce
So we
topic.
Definitely need to warn the kids. Somebody's going to talk to you. They're going to want to know about our house and our family.
Yep. But even if your child clams up a little bit, or let's say they just want to talk about their friends in school and what they like to do for fun, and they don't really answer the questions that we're asking very directly, it's not the end of the world. We just have to have the opportunity to get to know them and to gauge sort of their readiness for this process. So we'll do those interviews. We'll talk to everybody that's at the house. We don't necessarily need everybody there the whole time. The majority of the time is going to be spent with the foster and adoptive parents. So you may have children there early in the day or late in the day. Just plan that it's, we're going to be with you all day, so you'll need to have appropriate arrangements. A lot of the topics that we'll be discussing aren't really going to be very appropriate for young kids to listen in and talk about your finances and relationships and stuff like that.
Yeah. So it's better to have maybe childcare right at the beginning or right at the end of the interview. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what kind of questions can our families expect their writer to ask them?
We're going to talk about everything. So we're going to be getting to know all about your childhood and upbringing, your parents and education and work history. We're going to talk about past relationships and current relationships and money and parenting children. We're going to talk about philosophies related to taking care of kids, feelings about kids that have been abused and neglected, and birth family. Just tons and tons and
There's
tons of stuff.
There's some hard content that could come up.
There's definitely some stuff that could be certainly maybe not comfortable for an audience. And so the professional that will work with you is going to help to make you comfortable, help you to build trust in sharing about that stuff. And again, our goal is to include people and not to exclude them. So as we hear this, we get complete stories, and then we're going to make an assessment. So we're not necessarily going to dictate the whole conversation, but we're going to have to get to know some detailed things so that we can make assessments.
That's great. That's great. Thanks for sharing that with our families. What can our families expect from the walkthrough part? We talked earlier about checklists and getting things in order. So what can they expect when the writer's ready to do that part of the home study?
We're going to go through the whole house. We're going to look in every room. We're looking on the closets and cabinets. We're going to go in the garage, in the backyard. We're going to be everywhere in the house. Basically, nothing can be off limits. We've got to see weapons. We've got to see how medications are stored and how cleaners and chemicals are stored. We'll have to see everything. And basically, as we are communicating trust to families as we partner together, we've got to have that openness in relationship and how we work together. So again, we're not going to dig through your underwear drawer, but we're going to look at everything. We're going to be everywhere in the home. And if by chance your home doesn't have all the requirements ready or something, we can come up with a plan to help you to be successful. So we need you to do the best job you possibly can with the checklist we'll give you. But if there's a few items that maybe aren't ready, we can help to fix that up and get it taken care of. So you're not going to be tossed out of the process just because one of the items isn't done.
Okay. So in sum, at our home study, everyone's going to be interviewed. We might talk about things that could be difficult, but we need to be as open as we can as we're answering those questions.
Right. And as we've discussed on some of the previous videos in this series, we want to bring you to life on paper. We've got to really get to know your personality, your history, your story, the victories that God's had in your life, lots of different things. And a lot of times we want to use words like okay and fine and just kind of move past things that might have been uncomfortable. It's okay for you to say the words okay and fine, but we want you to be able to also go on and tell the story. How did you get okay? How did you get fine? How do you know that you're so okay and fine? Tell us the story. We are really trying to assess your readiness to care for kids. And so, you may have personal insights about what you've been through and how that's going to help prepare you to have unique compassion and understanding for the kids that we serve. We just have to have the complete story. We want to bring you to life. We don't want a bland, generic report.
Yeah, you want to know the complete proof behind fine and okay.
Absolutely.
How you got to be able to say fine and okay and great.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us as we discuss what happens during your home study. We want you to be comfortable, we want to get to know your family, and we want to be able to include you in the Covenant Kids family. Thank you for continuing to watch Getting Started with Covenant Kids.